This being my first video, I would like to create this transition. You want it? Let's go there. So let's start with dragging the clips to the timeline, to the media pool. Click change. We drag those two clips to the timeline. Zoom in to see the footage better. Then we go to effects. Now we don't pick cross dissolve from this dissolve section. We scroll down to fusion transitions. I pick cross dissolve, I put it here. You'll see it doesn't stay. I'm unable to add the transitions because there's no handle, no space for it to dissolve the clips. So I need to create that space by cropping that in, moving the mouse to the edge, dragging that out. Then I pull this back together. You have to drag it out a bit more. Let's create some more space. You see that it snaps to the edge of the next clip. Now we drag cross dissolve to there. You see now it sticks. Now we click on cross dissolve. I can open this dissolve transition in Fusion in two ways. There may be other ways, but there are two ways I'm aware of. You can click on here, it will open in Fusion, which is under the inspector panel, or you can right click on the transition and say open in Fusion page. You'll see it's not opening the transition correctly. Davinci Resolve does this from time to time. You go back to the timeline, right click on it again, open in Fusion page, and there we go. Click the middle mouse to drag it up. Click and hold the middle mouse to drag it up, and there we go. That's the cross dissolve transition. We don't need this particular transition for what we want to do, so I delete that. I go here to adjust size of the node grid. I move this down here. I extend the media out to create space for the transition we want to create. Then I click the middle mouse button and drag down to create some space up there. Now we bring in the rectangle mask. We go to inspector panel. You see, now for us to see what the rectangle mask is, I drag it to the view. Right now I'm on single view. I can change it to two views by clicking on this. Then you have view 1, you have viewer 2, but now I want to use a single view for this tutorial. Now you'll see this is the rectangle tool, rectangle mask tool. If you click on width and you drag it to 1, you see it fills the screen. We want to create 5 slices of this, so I divide that 1 by 5. I set the height to 3. You'll see why subsequently. Now we have 1 slice. Now we need to create 5 more slices. So I right click on this, I copy, I click on an empty space in the node grid, right click, paste instance. I repeat this process 4 times. And there we go. I rename this to slice 1. Rename this to slice 2. On and on till we rename everything. Now we go back to slice 1. Now we want to show all these 5 slides on this page, so I drag the merge node. I connect slice 1 to the foreground. The foreground is the green node. The yellow one is the background. We connect the slice 2 to the background. We pull out another merge. Connect the output of merge 1 to the foreground of merge 2. Connect this to the background. Connect slice 3 to the background of merge 2. Then drag merge 3. Connect the output of merge 2 to the foreground of merge 3. Connect slice 4 to the background of merge 3. Then drag the last merge, which is merge 4. Connect the output of merge 3 to the foreground of merge 4, and connect slice 5 to the background of merge 4. Now to view merge 4, we can either drag this to the viewer. It shows us merge 4, you'll see it here, merge 4. Or you can just tap 2. If I tap 2, it goes off. I tap 2 again on the keyboard, it comes back on. Now you'll see all the slices are on top of each other, but we want them to spread across the screen. So we go to slice 1. I set the center X to 1. Now because slice 2, 3, 4, and 5 are instances of slice 1, you'll see if I go to slice 2, it now has center as 0.1. All through to slice 5, all of them 0.1. But we want them to have different center X values. So I right click, I go to slice 2, go to the inspector panel, right click on center, and I de-instance it. So it means I can now adjust center X for slice 2 and it will not affect any of the others. So I go to this, I add 0.2, which is the size, which is the width of the slice, to that value. So it becomes 0.3. Press enter. That's slice 2. We go to slice 3, repeat the same process. Right click on center, the instance. The last value was 0.3. The next value will be 0.5, which is 0.3 plus 2. We'll do the same thing for slice 4. Right click, the instance, 0.7. Slice 5. Right click, the instance, 0.9. Now we see the slices fill the screen. Great. Next step, create more space here. We go to transform, drag transform in between slice 1 and merge until it gives that green and blue color. Drop it. Do the same thing between slice 2 and merge 1. The same thing between slice 3 and merge 2. Same thing between slice 4 and merge 3. Same thing between slice 5 and merge 4. We go to transform 1. We set the pivot Y to, I double click to select everything there, to minus 1.5. Enter. I go to transform 2. I do the same thing, minus 1.5. Minus 1.5. Minus 1.5. Minus 1.5. Now let me show you something. If I go to transform 1, I drag that to viewer 1, you'll see that. If I go to angle and I swing it, this is the kind of movement I want, which is why I put the pivot to be below the screen. We right click on angle and we modify with anim curves. We go to modifiers, linear, we go to easing, we pick sine for easing, we pick sine for ease out. For the scale, we pick 90. For the offset, we pick minus 90. Then we pick the time scale, we pick 2 for the time scale. Now, if we play this animation, see what it does. Okay, now let me explain why we picked time scale 2. This time scale, if you say 2, it means it's going to finish twice as fast, which means it's going to be by the half point of the presentation, it will be done. So let's go back to transform 2 and repeat the process for transform 2. Right click on angle, modify with anim curves. Set this to easing, set this to sine, set this to sine, and set this to 90, and this to minus 90. Now this 2 will be, the scale will be 2, but the offset for this will be 0.15. So this will start a little later than transform 1. We go to transform 3. Now there's something we need to do because we're going to package this as a macro. I want to use transform 1. I want to pin this transform 1 modifier, right? You can go back to tools. And for transform 2 that we just created for the modifiers, we go to modifiers. Now you see transform 1, the one I pinned, then transform 2. I want transform 2 to take its easing curves from transform 1. So I right click on here, click on expressions, drag this pick whip to the easing for transform 1. Do the same thing for the ease out expression, drag the pick whip to ease out. That's fine. We go to transform 3 because we are not in tools. We go back to tools. We right click on angle, modify with angle curves, go to modifiers, then transform 3.angle. We go to linear, we go to easing, right click on here, go to expression, right click on here, go to expressions, drag the pick whip to transform 1 ease in, then transform 1 ease out. Then we set this to the same value, 90 minus 90, scroll up, set this to 2, and then the offset for this would be 0.25. And we go to transform 4, tools, right click on angle, modify with angle curves, go to modifiers. This is transform 1, but we are trying to adjust transform 4. When we go to linear, ease in, right click on ease out, click on expression. That's ease in, my bad. Expression for ease out, then click on ease in. So you repeat this process across all the transform nodes. Scale 90, offset minus 90, time scale 2, and this is 0.35. Then go back to tools, to transform 5, right click on angle, modify with angle curves, go to modifiers, transform 5 angle, ease in, right click on ease in, expression, right click on ease out, expression, drag the pick whip to transform 1, ease in, pick whip to transform 1, ease out, set this value to 90, set this value to minus 90, time scale to 2, and the offset to 0.45. Enter. If we drag merge 4 now to the viewer and we click at the beginning, play it, that's what we want. Fantastic. So on to the next step. I drag this merge, move it closer, then I add a transform node to this end. Put this here. So this transform node makes it that if I go to tools, now I can unpin the transform node angle, go to tools. If I turn this, now let's view transform 6. If I turn this, so we can change the wipe angle for the swivel. If I change wipe angle to, let's say I change it to 45 and play it, I want to stop the loop, so I click on that, I play it to the end, you'll see that there's still some black space here at the edges. So to fix that, I go to slice 1. This is slice 1. I need to increase the width of slice 1. So I go to slice 1. I increase the width to 3. You'll see everything has covered up. Why? Because slice 2, the width is still instanced to slice 1. So everything changes to 0.3. Now I need to de-instance width across all the slices so that the changes I make to one will not affect all of the other slices. Then I set slice 2 back to 0.2, slice 3 back to 0.2, and slice 4 back to 0.2, and slice 5 back to 0.2. I'll come back to slice 5 to correct that. So I go to slice 1, I set slice 1, but I need to now adjust slice 1 center to 0.05. I go to slice 5, which is the last slice here. I change the width to 0.3 and I adjust the center X to 0.95 and we're done. So whichever way we turn the transform, whichever way we turn it, there's never a space at the edge, which is fine. So let's double click on angle to set it back to 0. Then we add motion blur. To add motion blur, we could have added motion blur to each of the merges, but that would be too much motion blur and will slow down the transition. So one trick to do this is to add a merge node here. Drag this transform to the foreground of the merge. Ignore this icon shape. I don't know why this is happening, but let's move on. Then we drag background here. This background, we drop the alpha to 0. We connect this background to the background node of merge 5. When we go to merge 5, the inspector panel, we go to settings, we go to motion blur, then we drag the quality to 10. You can drop the angle to 90. You don't need too much of a blur, but there should be that smoothness. So we drop it to that. So this way, if I go to this point, for example, and I drag merge 5 to the viewer, you see a bit of blurring at the edges because of the movement, which is what we want. Fine, so we're done with this. Now to get this mask to apply to the transition between merge media in 1 and media in 2, I need to add a merge node. So I click here, I drag a merge node and drop it here as it changes to yellow and blue. Here we go, we drag this here. The output of merge 5, we put it on the mask input, which is this blue triangle for merge 6. We drop it there. Then we drag media into down below there, and we drag media into to the foreground of merge 6. Now this, I don't like the way this line is, so I tap Alt on my keyboard while I click on the line to create this point. The name for it eludes me at the moment. Okay, so we have that. There's one final trick I put in here, because there are instances where you find that you want to put this transition at the beginning of the footage where there is no, you are not transitioning from a footage, it's just a blank space on your timeline. Let me go back to timeline so I show you what I mean. So imagine that I move, let's say I move this forward and I put this transition at the beginning here. It means there's no footage it is coming from. And if there's no footage, this transition as it is currently set up will fail. Let's go back to it. Because if there is no input here for media 1, let me show you what I mean. If I go to here and drag a media in here, and I put this background. Let's say I change the color of this background to green, right? And I put this here in the foreground, and there's no input on this, and I drag this to the viewer. It will be blank because there's no background, right? To avoid this happening for this transition, what I do is I add a merge node to media in 1, add another merge node to media in 2, then I drag a background node in between. This background node, I give it an alpha of 0, then I drag this here. It's connected to the foreground, it's connected to the foreground, but I want the background node to now be connected to the background of merge 8. So I right click on it, swap inputs. So you see the background is connected to the background node of merge 8. Then I need to do the same thing for merge 7. Swap inputs. So this means that regardless of whether there's an input for media in 1 or media in 2, there will always be an input to the merge 6. Okay, so I drag this here to make it clean. I can drag this whole thing up here. So let's see what we've done. Drag it to the viewer. And let's play what we've done. And voila, we're done. So now let's create a macro from this. I select all of this. Note I do not select media in 1, media in 2, or media out. Right click on any of the nodes, go to macro, create macro. I collapse controls, collapse slice 1. So under transform 1 there's anim curves 1. I expand that. You will note that I picked all my ease in and ease out values from the anim curves 1, which is the anim curves for transform 1. So I click on here, I tick the ease in, I tick the ease out, then here on this label I type ease space, so it's ease in / ease out. Then I go to transform 6. Why transform 6? Because transform 6 is that transform we use to change the angle of the wipe. So I go to transform 6, expand it, go down to the controls, go to angle, tick that, then pick wipe angle. Note that all these points we click are the what will show on the edit page when we add the wipe to our timeline. So I go to file, save as group to open this, go to back to the Fusion page, Fusion folder, go to templates, go to edit, go to transitions, and label it what you want. YP stripes. Yep. So I save it. I usually like to save as group so you can open it later on if you wish to. So I close it. Let's go back to our timeline. Let's copy this. Let's click on our part of our timeline, paste it. So I can delete this cross dissolve that's in the middle. Let's go to video transitions. Let's search for YP. It's not coming up. So what we'll do in this instance, we close Davinci Resolve and open this again. Then we go to video transitions. Then we type YP. There it is. Then we drag it in between the clip. Note if I click on this transition, you now see the ease in and ease out we labeled every time. So if we can change the ease in and ease out curves, then we can also change the wipe angle to be able to make this thing, because right now if I play it, it'll be a bit jerky and all, yeah, and I want it to cache. So I go to playback, I go to render cache, and I go to smart. So this way you see this red line. So you wait for it to cache. When it fully caches, it will turn blue, right? So you see that it's pretty fast. So if I go to the beginning here and I play it, beautiful, huh? So we can change the wipe angle. So I click on here and I change it to maybe 47. Wait for it to cache. Okay, then we'll play it. You see it's at a different angle. Play it back, and there it is. So thank you for your patience in going through this tutorial. I know it's a bit long. I'll try to make it shorter next time, and I hope you will be able to get a few tips here and there on how to get these kinds of things done. One other thing I think I should mention is if I go back to the original Cross Dissolve and I open it in Fusion, whenever you're creating a macro, like right now, I selected it from up here down. It's deliberate. If I had selected it from down here up, what happens when I save this macro is it will assume that this media in 2 is the media in 1. So it does the wipe in the direction in which you select the macro. So because media, we are coming from media in 1 to media in 2, make sure when you are selecting from the media in 1 point down to media in 2. That way the wipe will go from media in 1 to media in 2. That's just about it. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your patience. I have the wipe in the description. You can download it, do with it what you will. Thanks for watching. I'll be uploading weekly. For now, subsequently it will become twice a week. I would like your feedback on how I could make it better. And see you on the next one. Thank you.